look at this email that Jeffrey Epstein authored to Woody. It says, the 23andMe kits arrived and will be delivered to Woody and Soon-Yi to their home today. So I don't know who this actually went to, but he was getting this kit out to Woody Allen. And there's another email, this time to, who is this? They are always blocking out the names, but it says, hi, Sultan, can you please tell me who James Miller is? He is who you have billed the 30 kits to. Also, do I understand the shipping address is Jeffrey's home at 9 East 71st Street? We're talking about 23andMe kits. Do you guys remember that trend, by the way? For some reason, they came out and they told everybody, this is going to be amazing. Don't you want to know where you're from? As if they don't know where we're from. They're the ones that are trafficking people all over the world. We can help you. Just send us your DNA. And a lot of people did it. A lot of my friends did it. I was already like, seems a little suspect. It's a bit suspicious. I'm not going to do it at all. Well, interestingly enough, that particular project, 23andMe, or that particular business, also began shortly following our invasion into Iraq. I'll tell you why this matters, okay? So we invaded, as I mentioned yesterday, mid-2003, and we extracted Gilgamesh's tomb, roughly 2 years later. Well, in 2005, the now bankrupt company, 23andMe, came together where people began sending in those DNA kits to figure out their ancestry. I want you to park that in your mind as we revisit our military's strange efforts in the Middle East. I mentioned to you guys this man named Rob Skiba yesterday. He wrote a book entitled Babylon Rising. This came to me from an email tip. It was immediately interesting. Well, this man, it is alleged, was actually murdered for some of the research and the pieces that he were putting together because he was perhaps getting too close to the ultimate project of the elites. By the way, his son emailed me yesterday thanking me for bringing up his father and grateful that his father's work is still carrying on. I've not had time to email him back, but I did receive that email, and I know that you are watching, and I'm also grateful that the work that your father did is getting new meaning. Anyway, I started watching this speech that his father, Rob Skiba, gave on the topic of his book, Babylon Rising. I explained to you that all of the elites are obsessed with Babylon, and any research that I do, it's all about Babylon, Babylon, Babylon. And I want to share to you some of these clips. It's Rob Skiba, and he's speaking about his book. Now, to tee this up, let's just get into a little bit of the history. He is positing a lot about the Tower of Babel. Obviously, we know this was built up, that this angered God. And Rob Skiba posits that it wasn't actually the height of the tower that was problematic. He believes that, or this is a theory, so don't be offended. Please don't send me emails about, whoa, this is not the teaching, this is not the doctrine. We're trying to not get to what is true or what you believe. We are trying to actually get to what the elites believe. Okay, we actually don't believe we should harm children. So if we're speaking about the elite's belief, you don't have to send me a lecture about what's wrong about it. The entire purpose of this podcast is to tell you that the elites are satanic. Anyway, back to Nimrod building this Tower of Babel. Well, Rob Skiba posits, he's like, I don't think it was because the tower was high. We know that he built this to get back to heaven. He thinks that actually this tower that was being built was a technology because they wanted to get back into the heavenly realm. Now, if you have read Gilgamesh, there is a lot of astrotheology that's in it. Stargates. We know that the elites worship stars. We've covered that extensively. Well, in this particular clip, you're going to see Rob Skiba discuss the Book of Enoch, the one that I mentioned to you, going back to the beginning, the story of fallen angels. And he brings up something that is of geographical interest. Take a listen.
There are extra biblical texts, like the Book of Enoch and others, that go into more detail about what happened in Genesis 6. The Book of Enoch says that 200 fallen angels, a class of angels known as the Watchers, landed in this location right here. This is the center of a mountain range in southern Lebanon known as Mount Hermon. Now keep your eye right there as the camera pulls back and just kind of look at the outline of the topography right there. It's very interesting that it actually forms the shape of a goat. And one of the worst of the fallen angels was one by the name of Azazel. And Azazel is always associated with the goat. And you see that in Leviticus chapter 16. The scapegoat is in reference to Azazel. I find it interesting that the land itself actually kind of looks like a goat head. This gentleman depicted here is David Flynn. He recently passed away, but he turned the world upside down with some of his research, and he was able to figure out that that location is 33.33 degrees north by 33.33 degrees east from the Paris prime meridian. Very interesting. What's 1/3 of 100? 33.3333%, right? How interesting that the fallen angels that participated in what I call the Genesis 6 experiment landed on the geographical location that fits their number on the crosshairs of 33.33. Something else David Flynn pointed out is that if you put a little marker there, and you can do this for yourself, that what I showed you there is from Google Earth. I did it for myself to check it out. But you can put a marker there and then draw a line from there to the Paris prime meridian. We go by Greenwich today, but originally it was the Paris was kind of the standard for a long time there. And that is, in the occult, is referred to as the devil's line.
So something that is a fact is that the elites are obsessed with goat heads, Baal worship. None of this is a conspiracy. Jeffrey Epstein worked for the Rothschilds. You were looking at a picture of the Rothschilds at their surrealist ball. The more research you do, you just sort of see this appearance over and over again of goat heads. Even if you get into Pan worship, Dionysus, all of these, occult, orgiastic cults that they've had since the beginning of time, so to speak. So Ron Skiba's theory, if you're suspending, again, theological debate for a moment, I'm just telling you because we're looking into what he is saying the elites are after. His theory is that at the moment that occurred, once languages were confused, Nimrod became known as different names. Baal, Tammuz, Gilgamesh, and like I said, he is positing this. You can see this whole list: Dionysus, Bacchus. Yes, there is synergy between those cults and the practices, without question, historically speaking. Now, he's discussing this because he believes that the elites view Nimrod and or Gilgamesh as the Antichrist that they are working to try to resurrect for exactly that reason. And he reminds audiences that Gilgamesh, per the epic, was 2/3 God and 1/3 man. Take a listen. Super interesting.
Gilgamesh is said to be part God, part man. Jesus is God and man, right? Well, there's a similarity there. The Epic of Gilgamesh says that he was 1/3 man and 2/3 God. What's 1/3 of 100? 33.33%. What's 2/3? 66.6%. Interesting. And the 1/3 part of man, we are carbon-based organisms, right? The carbon molecule has 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, 6 protons. So just by default, the number of man would be 666 by virtue of the carbon molecule. But this guy's got 6s all over him. Look up CERN. It's a very interesting facility. Look at this thing. The thing's huge. It's the Hadron Super Collider. Their stated objective is to recreate the Big Bang. Now, I don't believe in evolution myself, but I remember them teaching me evolution in school, and they said we got here from a Big Bang, right? So if we got here according to the way you think, and you want to, by a Big Bang, and you want to recreate the Big Bang, that can't be a good thing. They're trying to find the God particle. You know, what in the world are these guys doing? Look at their logo. It looks like 3 6s on top of each other. And everybody wants to talk about the separation of science and religion, right? They're usually, it seems like they're like this, right? You know, they're diametrically opposed. Well, it's interesting that all these scientists and people working over there on CERN decide to put the religious statue of the Hindu god Shiva outside the front door. Shiva is the god of destruction. They put the god of destruction, a huge statue dancing, looks like it's coming through a portal.
So this brings me back to a 23andMe. If you follow that train of thought that they are actually doing things from a religious angle, a demonic angle, but they're presenting it as a science, what was this mass campaign to effectively collect everybody on Earth's DNA by saying, oh, look, we're going to help you with your ancestry? Well, take a listen to what Ron Skiba says.
2003, the body of Gilgamesh was found in the desert of Iraq. And I heard a recent interview with Tom Horn and Steve Quayle talking on Omega Man Radio. I'm just going to play a snippet of their radio show. This is what they had to say about this find.
Imagine the startling proposition that the Nephilim, the giants, the mighty men of old, the gods and children of the Watchers, could somehow rise up, could somehow be reconstituted inside of a body. And, of course, I've discussed with you before my theory that one of the greatest legends in history could be a record of that having actually happened. And I'm referring to Nimrod, who some scholars also identify as Gilgamesh of Sumerian fame, Apollo of Greek fame, Osiris of Egyptian fame. And this Gilgamesh was a giant who a lot of people didn't even believe was anything more than myth until his grave marker was found a few years back. And then, according to some people, the military swooped in and took possession and control of that dig.
Hey, Tom, I want to interject something. I talked to a special operations general who validated that, and his words were he was in a state of remarkable preservation, okay? He said they have Gilgamesh's remains. So if they have Gilgamesh and he is Nimrod, they got it. And the whole point was to extract the DNA. And I've also been told that the whole point, and this is germane to what we're talking about, of the Human Genome Project is to locate specific genetic markers for the disembodied spirits to reanimate their host body that's brought back.
Interesting that the U.S. military started its military occupation phase of Iraq 1 month later. We all know we went into Iraq under false pretenses, right? They told us weapons of mass destruction, right? They said that we didn't find weapons of mass destruction, but I have a feeling we found the weapon of mass destruction, and we set up shop there immediately after that and established 500 military bases in the largest embassy of any other embassy on the entire planet in Babylon. Interesting.